Good evening, everyone. I request you all to please have your seats. We are about to proceed the special session on health.
नाहीतर माझा लॅपटॉप आहेच.
नाही पेनड्राईव्ह लागेल. झालं. This is USBDs.
Yeah, this one.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah, the you see today's date. Date. You see date modified. Go.
28/4.
वरती. Yeah, this is the one.
Yes. Huh? Felicitation. Yes. I'll just control C.
कॉपी करताय काय
हो,
तुम्ही?
yes, sir.
करा ना करा. म्हणजे ते स्पीडचा प्रॉब्लेम नाही.
नाही म्हणजे मग परत हे नाही होणार. सर हो सर ओके
ओके.
ह्याचं काढा. ते सेशन तिकडून द्यायचं. Good evening, all. Respected Vice Chancellors of eminent universities, distinguished guests, and esteemed members of global academic community. We also welcome our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. P.D. Patil, sir, to grace this special session on health. I welcome you all. Let me begin with a quiet reflection. What truly defines a strong nation? Is it economic power? Is it global influence? Or is it technological advancement? Or is it something very fundamental, the health and dignity of the people? Because healthcare is not merely a service, it reflects how fairly we care, how deeply we value life, and how truly we define progress. Today's theme invites us to reflect something profound. Can universities become catalysts for healthcare transformation? Can, can they not just produce doctors but shape systems? Not just generating research but enabling reach to the common man. Not just teaching medicine but nurturing humanity. जब ज्ञान समाज से जुड़ता है तभी सेवा का स्वरूप सशक्त होता है. With this thought, to guide the important conversation, we have with us a leader of exceptional academic insight and institutional vision. Please welcome Professor Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra sir to chair this session. He is a recipient of the coveted Dr. B.C. Roy Award, currently serving as a Pro-Chancellor and Chief Advisor of the Tamege Institute of Higher Education and Research. Thank you, sir. Now, may I welcome all the speakers for this important session. The first speaker is Professor Dr. G.D. Yadav, sir, a Padma Shri awardee and a distinguished fellow of both National Academy of Engineering and National Academy of Inventors, United States. He is a pioneer in green chemistry and well known for his thought-provoking statement, God is a chemical engineer. Our next speaker brings together both worlds of clinical excellence, education, and public health policy. Please welcome Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma, sir, a Padma Shri awardee, a recipient of Dr. B.C. Roy Award, a distinguished prosthodontist. His contributions to healthcare and institutional leadership have been both impactful and far-reaching. Now, may I welcome our third speaker, Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, sir. He is a distinguished biomedical scientist, former vice chairman of the UGC, and a pioneer in Ayurveda biology and evidence-based integrative medicine. Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, sir. To guide this panel discussion, now may I humbly request Professor Ved Prakash Mishra, sir, to take the proceedings ahead. Yes, please.
Esteemed Honorable Chancellor of the University, respected Dr. P.D. Patil, Secretary General of AIU, esteemed Dr. Pankaj Mittal, esteemed panelists sitting on the dais, which turns out to be a trinity which is equivalent to a galaxy. All learned Honorable Vice Chancellors, colleagues, learned Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. Smita, ladies and gentlemen. I, in my humble capacity as chairman for this particular special session, for which I need to thank Honorable Chancellor and Dr. Pankaj for accommodating this session on healthcare. And it's not only the word which has been availed in the entire theme to be healthcare, it is put across by two definitive adjectives. Number one, equitable healthcare. And number two, sustainable healthcare. Therefore, as a part of prologue, before I really commence on to the expressions to be put across by the learned experts, there are certain parables which I am wanting to put across. Healthcare does not germinate on its own from earth, or it does not descend from heaven. It is required to be generated, articulated, formed, shaped, chiseled, and put into operation. Therefore, it's a process. It's a system which is required to be put into place. Systems do not move on their own. They need operators. They need drivers. They need planners. And therefore, if healthcare is expected to be a reality in terms of what has been the part of the various declarations, I'm not taking you into the historicity, but the aftermath of Second World War made the global humanity to congregate, think, and evoke something which is not only International Charter of Justice and Human Right, but also UNO Declaration. Not only just UNO Declaration, Geneva Convention. From Geneva Convention, moving on to health for all, healthcare suffrage, and sustaining sustainable development goals, ladies and gentlemen, they make a complete story of health as a human right. The Declaration of 1948 contemplating health to be a human right on 26 January 1950, when the framers of the Constitution gave Indian Constitution to this country of yours and mine. Fundamental right under Article 21 contemplates not health as a human right, health as a fundamental right, which is expected to be attributable to every citizen as a matter of guarantee. And in terms of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of nation, who contemplated this description to be that ultimately it is supposed to be reaching the essence of welfare state to the weakest of the weak, poorest of the poor, and unto the last. It's in this context healthcare has to be viewed in this country. Present theme entitles me to put across this with clarity at my disposal, that what Constitution contemplates health to be a fundamental right, it's not just right to health. It ought to be right to quality health, right to equitable health, and right to sustainable health is the first parable which I'm wanting to put across. But when I put this across in this century, where the entire alterations, dimensions have in 21st century are materially different than what they operated in the 20th century, there is a further addition and amendment which is required to be called for. It's not just an entitlement of right to health. It's not just quality health, but 21st century health scenario in terms of the fulfillment of legitimacy of expectation mandates it to be techno health and digital health. Therefore, I am wanting to be expanding this horizon from 1948, when we contemplated it to be a human right, 1950 fundamental right, getting translated into right to quality health, and today right to quality centric techno and digital health is the proposition which I am wanting to put across for the purposes of equitable and sustainable health care. Who is to operate this? If the system is to be effective, if it is to be outcome based, if it has to generate deliverables, and those deliverables have to be total commensurate with the objectives, and not only the fulfillment of objectives, but resulting in optimization. How does it work? Amongst other things, panelists, my submission is it needs manpower to man the system. And where does the manpower come from? What is the repository of this manpower? The manpower comes, trained healthcare manpower comes from educational institutions under the university. Therefore, the mother repository of the healthcare delivery system in any part of the world, the trained health manpower is to be generated by the educational institutions which fall under the ambit of the university per se. Therefore, university is not just as a catalyst. University as the mother repository of healthcare delivery system, not only in this country, but in the entire world, is the proposition which I am wanting to put across. It's not the process of catalysis, ladies and gentlemen. It's a process of generation of the trained health manpower. And this trained health manpower, which then is required to be taking the onus of effective healthcare delivery system, efficient healthcare delivery system, equitable healthcare delivery system, sustainable healthcare delivery system, and that sustenance requires quality-centric trained health manpower by the quality-centric educational institutions, by a quality providence providing universities as the mother repositories of quality-centric healthcare delivery system. This is the simplest of the mathematical equation which I am wanting to put across. Where exactly are the objectives that have been set out? Three important objectives and three important challenges, ladies and gentlemen. We talk that it's a guarantee, which goes to indicate that it ought to be accessible. Therefore, the first proposition which I am wanting to put across, and which is classically put across as the trinity of healthcare delivery system, it must be accessible, it must be available, and third, it must be affordable. What are the three A's? These are the three A's. We can talk big, we can claim big, but the material question is the efficacy and efficiency of the healthcare delivery system does not get reflected in terms of its providence for the people who are in a position to purchase and buy it. It is to be expected to be dispensed for all. Therefore, it has to be handily accessible, easily available, and it must be affordable, which goes to indicate that even if it reaches you, the end user must have its economic reach for the purposes of having it. I am not taking you to the statistics, but I am just putting across to an important realistic view, and that is, we all say the per capita income of this country, rightly so in the previous session we heard, in the present ranking, it is 164th in the world. Independent of the size of the growing size of the economy of this country, the realistic proposition which I am wanting to underline as a basic denominator is, right now we are 164th in the rank of per capita income of this country. Therefore, if I say that we are a rich country where poor people live, I may not be wrong. Is healthcare affordable in this country in terms of the per capita income ranking 164th in the world? It is a matter of great surprise that a country, USA, not for comparison, 1/4 the population, 10 times the economy, the out-of-pocket expenses per capita, where the per capita income is 16 times higher, the out-of-pocket expenses in America are only 4%. In your and my country, the out-of-pocket expenses, which an average man with 164th rank in per capita income, the out-of-pocket expenses per individual for healthcare are 68.96% in cumulation with private and public sector put together. And if it is only private unaided sector, it turns out to be 94.86%. Now, this is what I am wanting to put across, is the zone of affordability. Contemplate a situation where we say that 32% of the people in this country are below poverty line. 80 crores of the people are required to be put in terms of the official Pradhan Mantri Anna Yojana. In that situation, if out-of-pocket expenses per capita in this country for healthcare is expected to be 70%, then let us realize for ourselves where exactly is the affordability in this country. Is accessibility handy? If accessibility is not handy, availability is the consequent end result of which is going to be compromised and jeopardized. I am flagging the issues for the purposes of observations by my learned panelists on this concern, and then upon discussion we will be definitely trying to work out a way forward. I am flagging the issues, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, what is the mode? The mode is, we need to bring out propositions in the educational sector which will be in a position to bridge this gap. Again, not lamenting, but fact of the story is, what did the expert committee constituted by Pandit Nehru way back in 1952 recommended before the Planning Commission was born? The recommendation were that the 18 parameters which shall go to constitute welfare state, the figures which were put across at serial number 1 and 2, they were speaking for itself. The parameter number 1 was health, and parameter number 2 was education. Rest were put as remaining 16 in order, which goes to indicate that the contemplated welfare state, if it is required to be actualized, it is extension of health and education, which are paramount, uncompromisable, non-waivable. And it is precisely for this reason the recommendation which was put across was that 6% of the GDP each on education and health in terms of fulfillment of the listed priorities. It is not accidental where exactly the 6% has come from. They were put as the topmost priorities of actualization of welfare state. Therefore, 6% each of the GDP for health and education was worked up. I am not wanting to be critical of anything, but fact of the story is from 1952 till this date, neither education has crossed 3% of the GDP nor health has crossed 3% of the GDP. I am not taking the subheads of education and research thereunder. I am taking it across 3%, which is in reality 2.93% in primary healthcare delivery system, secondary healthcare delivery system, tertiary healthcare delivery system, all are subsumed into it, notwithstanding the same. These being the areas, what is the way forward? The way forward is not health. The way forward is techno health. The way forward is technical based health. The way forward is technology based health, which is expected to be augmenting the accessibility. In average, the techno health is in a position to present figures contemplate that telehealth and digital health, in terms of its barest of the bare form, they have increased the reach by more than 30% within last 3 years post-COVID, is a matter of reality which has been put across, which goes to indicate that it is the techno health dimension which is in a position to cater and augment to the cause of accessibility. Telehealth and digital health are not only increasing the accessibility, the net result is augmentation of the availability. And the cost entail, ladies and gentlemen, if it is going to be indigenized, take it from me, it will also be turning out to be much reasonably affordable as well. The greatest asset that India has as of now on this count, ladies and gentlemen, is the clinical data. Contemplate why is it that in the accord that we just had with USA, what was point number 1 on agreement which was put across? It was not economics. It was not military might. It was data. Data is the gold mine of 21st century, ladies and gentlemen, and the clinical data that India has is a real gold mine. The only problem is we have not been in a position to align this clinical data to be converted into database in a required form which can be availed for the purposes of invocation of algorithms which can be put into the domain of artificial intelligence through machine learning to be put into the domain of AI based, Indian data based screening tools, diagnostic tools, therapeutic tools, prognostic tools, and rehabilitative tools. There is no use in lamenting कि कब नौमन तेल होगा और कब राधा नाचेगी. It is, can technology based innovations will be in a position to alter the situation? They are altering, and they can. But then it is imperative that these propositions are put across inbuilt into the training of the learner, whereby the learner itself is tuned and trained to these propositions for the purposes of handling the onus and responsibility of digital health, techno health. We are still plagued by clinical health scenario in its core situation, contemplating that these are the adjuvants. I salute. Yes, the art and science of the medicine in terms of William Osler is expected to survive and thrive for all ages till a new humanity is born. There at that I am not questioning. But the realistic propositions which are acting as limitations and challenges, they are required to be dealt with. And in case they are required to be dealt with, if virtual learning can be incorporated in education post-COVID, if we are wanting to be putting across simulation basis to be incorporated in terms of AV and virtual reality and everything that you and me are talking about, it is imperative, ladies and gentlemen, that trainer has to be trained in terms of techno-based and digital health, which is the health of today and not the healthcare of tomorrow. It is in this situation that the catalysis is expected to be undertaken by the Indian healthcare institutions, teaching institutions under the ambit of the university for the purposes of taking this onus, which in my humble opinion can be a real silver lining to the otherwise dark hovering clouds. My 10 minutes are sharp over. And as promised to Dr. Pankaj, I will not only stick to time, but I will make panelists also stick to time so that we complete it timely. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's with this prologue, which of course is not binding on all my autonomous but affiliated panelists. And therefore, with great respect, I call upon. See, what a panel I am, Dr. Patil. दोन माझ्यासमोर पद्मश्री आहेत आणि एक माझा मित्र अभूतपूर्व व्हाईस चेअरमॅन UGC आणि चेअरमॅन ऑफ द नॅक कमिटी आहे. Therefore, in all humility, with great pleasure, honor, and indulgence, I call upon my brother, Dr. G.D. Yadav, for his exponential disposition. Over to Dr. G.D. Yadav.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Professor Mishra. Fantastic speech. You would have continued for next 30 minutes. What matters today is healthcare. And just yesterday, I gave a talk on NSDL, which is global, Wheels Global Foundation of IIT Kharagpur, from longevity to immortality. Is it possible to live longer beyond 100 years? And what that life will be? So my lecture is interestingly related to that topic. So can universities act as catalysts for equitable and sustainable healthcare, which you mentioned? The Sustainable Development Goals 17, 1 and 2 are, no poverty, no hunger, affordable healthcare. Number 9 is industry, infrastructure, innovation, and all other things. And the last is, of course, 17 is, do you have collaboration with others? So that is very important, and I'm going to dwell upon this topic. So are universities passive or transformative? Universities must be transformative. No matter which university you are heading, whether small, big, public sector or private sector, healthcare is just not medicine. It is a systems challenge. With that, I begin. And so India's scale demands we will be 167 crore people in 2047. We are supposedly going to be $30 trillion economy. Somebody says $55 trillion economy. And that time, many people will be living nonagerians, octogenarians, centurions, and all that. So are they going to live a very nice life or life which is miserable? So this is where the universities must evolve from degree providers to solution ecosystem. Can the universities do that? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the faculty members? Do they have the facilities to do that? Because healthcare industry requires a lot of facilities and cannot be done just like that. So we can have a knowledge which is education, research, evidence generation, then innovation. Everybody is talking about innovation these days, right? If you are not innovative, you cannot use innovation word also. Then collaboration. I mentioned in the beginning, you have to collaborate. It is not just one discipline. It will be across the disciplines. Okay, so that is another. Then equity and inclusion. There is a lot of disparity, and there is a digital disparity. People living in villages don't have access to internet, right? And there are those who are living every now and then, they are on the mobile phone. That is another problem. Students are number one in that. Then better health outcomes from sustainable development. And last is the systems thinking. Everybody's talk, as an engineer, I talk about systems engineering. Nowadays, chemists are also talking systems chemistry. Systems thinking is holistic approach to prevention, care and well-being. So this is what, so universities must become drivers of national health transformation. So look at the Indian scenario. What is the urgency? There is a lot of disparity I already mentioned to you. Poor people cannot afford, rich people can afford everything. When we develop medicines, right, some medicines are so expensive, even a few milligram will cost. One of the examples is semaglutide, which is being marketed in India now to weight reduction as well as diabetes. Very expensive. 1 gram costs a few thousand rupees. 1 kilo of that semaglutide is 45,000 US dollars. Can you make it in India? And who will afford that? There is a shortage of skilled workforce, and universities must do that. They must look at everything. High out of pocket expenditure. We know that this is what people fear when they go to the hospital. And of course, we are dependent on import. We import everything. And this morning we had, this afternoon, everybody was talking about, Atmanirbhar Bharat and, whatever. And then fragment and primary, care. This is what is happening. So the problem is that we have very good policies on the piece of paper, but the implementation is the problem. The execution is very, very weak. Best of the policies were devised by UGC, for example. Professor Patwardhan knows that. And so what are these 5 pillars of this universities as catalyst? Education, I mentioned. Research, very important. You require facilities, you require brainiest of the brain people, and they must collaborate. Normally we have silos. People work in silos. They don't collaborate with others. They don't collaborate with other institutions. That is another problem. Translation, can we translate the lab curiosity into something which is an industrial practice? This is where we lack. We have provided so many things. We are so-called startup companies, startup ecosystem, okay? Incubation, innovation, infrastructure. I headed that committee of DST for 4 years. We tried to help every institute in the country, remotest of the remote places. But the translation is a very big factor. Then community. Can we engage the community in this? Because unless the community is a participant, that we cannot go to the next level. And last, policy and data. Professor Mishra mentioned about the gold mine which we have, data. We have all sorts of data available. Can we develop medicines? Believe me, those data where they use for, so-called, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, they are all foreign data. They are not at all applicable to us. We have to develop our own data. That is another thing where AI can help us. Next is building the future workplace. So this is where we can have some debate. Medicine plus engineering plus AI plus public health. AI is a buzzword. Everybody thinks you have AI, you solve the problem. AI is based on data. If the data are not sound, your AI is useless. AI cannot substitute manufacturing. AI can only aid in increasing the speed at which you do it. So maybe you can diagnose something which is within a fraction of a second. Earlier you will require to go to the library and look at the book, no longer. And the another problem is skill-based people we don't have. Even the nurses don't know what to do. Everybody has to be trained in that. And so creating healthcare engineers, I would say that I gave a lecture, in a Sion hospital. Medicine is all engineering. If we do not do engineering of our body, because our body is the best machine to be engineered, we can replace everything, every part of our body. So that is engineering. So biocompatible materials. So list at the problem is, can we have low-cost diagnostic? This is another issue. Can we have it? Can we do something now? They are talking about mobile-based diagnostic. Just yesterday I read that the mobile-based diagnostic, you can know the sugar level, right? That is what I read. Now the indigenous medical devices, again, Professor Sharma was mentioning about that. Do we have that capacity? Do we have the people who can take it to the next level? Can we be cost competitive? Nothing was better than cost competitiveness. I used to teach and still teach, green chemistry and sustainability. I tell my students, Well, we can call everything green, but Sethji is not bothered. Sethji says, can you make it in less price? Nobody invests in that unless it is competitive and it has to be better than somebody else's. And vaccine and biologics, this we have seen. Covaxin and Covishield you talked about. That was supported by DST. I was the chairman of that committee. I know that this is what happens when we have indigenous people, people who are trying to do it, we should give them. So indigenous innovation, cost effectiveness, quality and safety, local manufacturing, that is what is going to take India to the next level. Now, translation is another important thing. First of all, because Professor Pawar, you are a vice chancellor, you should allow your faculty members to be entrepreneurs. You may have some terms of conditions. Let them earn extra money. Earlier, our doctors were not allowed to do anything but go and do something, right? Now we are talking about faculty members as entrepreneurs, startup companies, and that is happening in USA. USA, many faculty, my own son is a professor, he has 3 companies. So I can tell you that this is very important. So we have to have pilot scale validation facilities, which we do not have. In fact, you should have all these medical colleges should have these pilot level facilities where the drugs can be taken from one level to another level. There are generic drugs, you must do data analysis. There are some drugs which will be off patent. So there are companies which have already looked at drugs which will be off patent in 2040, 2030, 2027 and started working on that. And deep tech startups, we require biotech, we require meditech, we require digital health. Because digital thing you talked about. So sometimes I say, can the mind be copied on a digital disk? Can we replicate ourselves in that? Sometimes we may, but it may not be you. Because every second we are regenerating ourselves. The cells are regenerated. And so we don't need that. And the last mile impact, we have to adopt villages. We must have telemedicine hubs. We must have mobile health units, okay? Real-time health data systems, and district-level planning support. This is government job. But the colleges, medical colleges can participate in that because this is required. Because you can give better access to everybody. You can have data on your mobile phone. Developing apps is another thing, very important thing. And look at this. What is strategic? API and pharmaceuticals. We import 80% of API from China. When we say that we want to ban Chinese products, our drug industry will be dead the very next moment. So we have to replace the so-called PLI scheme must be applied to many more disciplines that Madam was talking about, 14 different areas of the missions. So this is one important thing. Manufacturing, reporting, dependence on import should be reduced. We must develop. That means we require all skilled professors, professionals, researchers, and all. In fact, I suggested we should thank Donald Trump. I'm telling you why. Because of his restrictions, people are coming back to India. So I suggested, in fact, I wrote that article in, your university news bulletin. What I wrote, that universities must be allowed, IITs must be allowed to recruit these people immediately on fast-track basis so that they do not go back. So vice chancellor must be allowed to recruit people, and then later on you can regularize them. That is what is required in today's context. And so diagnostics and vaccines, all those things, we must have this, okay? And finally, leadership for transformation. This is for vice chancellor. This is my last slide. So don't look at the watch. Okay. So we have to break the academic silos, foster collaboration across disciplines to solve complex health challenges. Okay, this is very important. We not work in silos. So D.Y. Patil University should work with somebody else and develop something which is good for the society. Incentivize translational research. So are we giving incentive means what? Not publishing a paper with 100 authors on that. No, the real author should be given reward for that. Okay, build industry partnership. This is where I mentioned that trimester system. Because the faculty member can spend sabbatical in industry. We can also, the industry people can come to you. And the faculty member will teach only 2 trimesters. one trimester can be given for research and innovation. And then, of course, future-ready curricula, vibrant curricula. In the trimester system, it is possible because when the student goes to industry, he sees what they are doing. And then he comes back and then gives his input. I did it, I'm telling you that. I did it, so I'm telling you from own experience. Fund high impact innovation. In fact, I'm of the opinion, fund the research which is likely to fail. Nobody, so-called kite flying ideas. If the research is going to fail, you will think. If it is 2 plus 2, why would you think? Right? If it is 2 plus X, then you will think. So it is hospitals treat patients, universities must treat the system. So India as the global hub, equitable, affordable healthcare innovation is possible, only we do it. Thank you very much, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yadav. Universities to be transformative hubs is the core essence, including the entire plethora and gamut of the concerns and challenges, both long-term and short-term, were brought out vividly, including a way forward there too. May not be as a part of highway, but definitive dotted lines which have been plotted and which can be put together in terms of the collaborations and linkages in the form of what was classically described by Dr. Nigwekar as disruptive innovation. It is the disruptive innovation spirit which I think is something which was being indicated by Dr. Yadav. Thank you very much. And therefore, on my behalf and on behalf of all present, thanking you, I have now great pleasure in inviting the second expert speaker, my another learned brother, Dr. Mahesh Verma, for his disposition. Dr. Mahesh.
No problem. It's okay. Thank you, sir. It's such a pleasure. In fact, as you said in the beginning, that this is very rare occasion when our health is one of the subjects in AIU annual sessions. And as Professor Mishra said in the beginning, that we are all autonomous yet affiliated. And I am very deeply affiliated with Professor Mishra. It's truly, I was two of the earlier speakers, including our chairperson and Professor Yadav, gave a different perspective of healthcare. But when I was thinking about it, I was thinking that large number of delegates here are going to be vice chancellors of conventional multidisciplinary universities, and there may be a couple of health university vice chancellors, and what they can do, because education and healthcare, as has been said again and again, are intertwined, are interlinked, and I think healthcare in universities is where the knowledge heals and innovation transforms, as Professor Yadav said, and ultimately what happens? The society benefits. And we all know that all the universities are birthplace of ideas which ultimately impact the society, and where the ideas are created, refined, and ultimately become transformative. And when you link it with healthcare, I think it has a very magnifier effect. It's a multiplier effect, and it is really, it can become a real catalyst for a change, and what we are aiming
to be a self-reliant Bharat. There are humongous challenges healthcare facing today. I am just naming some of them. Lack of awareness. In spite of, we have come this far, our country has done so well, but still, large number of our population, still they will seek a medical help only when it becomes grave. Urban-rural divide, that 70-70 paradox. The 70% are treating 30%, and the remaining 30% looking after 70%. That's again a big challenge. We were all battling with communicational diseases, CDs, TB, malaria, dengue, all those things. And suddenly there is an explosion of NCDs. And today they say that 60 to 65% of deaths are because of NCD. That's another challenge. Affordability. Sir has been raising it again and again, that affordability, we were all startled when you compare that only 4% out-of-pocket expenses in US versus 65% of pocket expenses in a country like India. It's really, really very disturbing. Inadequate infrastructure. When we talk about it, we talk about a regular government system which is overcrowded. There are delays, there are long queues, quality issues. I'm not talking about that. And we have been talking again and again, healthcare and education, insufficient public funding, just less than 3%, about 2%, and then all these things. So all these things resulting in a fragmented healthcare system and an inequity to access, because we've been talking about those three ACEs, and one of that is inequity, because for many reasons, inequity. And when we talk of equity, there are three things. One is inequality, another is equality, and then equity. They're not same. When we say inequality, that means we are talking about a group, a health status, which could be an individual, which could be a group, for many reasons. For reason of income, geographic reason, education reason, or social status, they are disadvantaged. Inequality. And when we talk about equality, and which is the WHO has defined it, that equal access to preventive, promotive, and curative health. That means saying everyone gets the same. That is equality. And we say equity, we are talking about need base. Somebody who has a less gets more. And if you look at the picture, the second picture here, the person who has less is put on a higher pedestal. So that is equity, and that's what we are looking for, that our healthcare has to be unfair, avoidable, remedial differences in health status, and tailored to need, which is as per what is really required. We are talking about sustainability. I think this entire topic is on what can be done about sustainability, because our resources are finite, very limited. We don't have unlimited resources, and resources are not going to be forever. We have to be conservative. We also have to keep in mind what is in future for us, because we are not just consuming our resources, but we are also keeping in mind what is in store for the future generations. And sustainability attempts to meet the present need, at the same time also ensuring that there are no compromises, there are no any issues for our future generations. So United Nations defines sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. So we also, he said, the Osler's theory, he said, will survive till the next humanity comes. So we are espousing that this sustainability will last till the next humanity comes. So why sustainability is important in healthcare? Why? And if we link it to our typical university system, I think we have to ensure that even though we are not a healthcare university, we ensure that we make our it's not just a buzzword. We make our students aware, education system aware, and aware about the protecting environment, because so much is linked between health and protected environment. Because all that emissions, heat, all those waste management, which is leading to pollution, leading to asthma, all those conditions. So cardiac conditions, which are all linked in. So that is one. Another thing is that we also have to ensure that we do innovations so that all the treatments are done. There's a lot of emphasis on prevention, so that affordability, because when you do it, the operational cost is less, cost containment is there when we do it at a prevention level. Rather, we allow it to magnify and treat it through secondary means or a tertiary means. And also, how do we advance equity and access? That means, so that there is a healthcare for everybody, prioritizing primary and primary care prevention and outreach. How do we ensure that we make our public aware? Building resilient health system, which is using indigenous technologies, as Professor Yadav said. We have only technology, digital health is the only answer. That's another area. That's why it is so important in healthcare. And driving innovation, as he said, that's a buzzword today. Everybody wants to innovate, stand out, be different. And how do we ensure that we reduce waste and resource burden? And ultimately, the most important thing is, when we do all these things, our need for antimicrobial requirement will be far less. You will be surprised to know that 40 years from now, the AMR will become the biggest cause of death. All the antibiotics which we are using today will no longer be effective, because if we keep on misusing the system, we are not making the system sustainable, it is going to be a big issue. What are the pillars of sustainability? I think Professor Yadav has already very nicely talked about those 5 pillars. But I think in a university, how we operate, how we teach, and how do we innovate, that is the whole concern. And there has to be awareness about environmental sustainability in the system. All our awareness about energy, resources, biodiversity, eco-friendly buildings, academic sustainability. It has to be incorporated in our curriculum, because what is there in the curriculum sustains. What is there which is informal, it doesn't last long. And social responsibility, how do we ensure that we are providing fair and equitable system? How do we develop and include community, because community engagement is also one of the very important pillars of sustainability in the university. And how do we economize economic sustainability? And finally, how do we make systems, government system, policies, and also how do we make it ethical? You see, ensure that everything is transparent, not on the paper of it. When we have NAC inspection or any such inspection, we do a lot of things on paper which truly are not. So how do we truly ensure that we follow this system? And so what universities can do, how they can bridge this gap, and what is the role of the universities? I think role goes much beyond than just doing green campuses. When there's a NAC inspection, we have a biogas plant, we have all those things. I think it is much beyond that. And I think we have to educate responsibly, we have to operate very efficiently, and we also have to ultimately contribute to the society. That is the entire role of a university in sum up. So we have to ensure that all our workforce, which is being developed through various courses in the universities, they are exposed to prevention, ethics, empathy, skill-based training. Especially I'm talking about these things for a healthcare university. Professor Mishra raised about human resource. Everything, ultimately, it will be the HR who will be bringing about the change. And community center care, outreach, how do we, as I think somebody said in the earlier session that university also has a USR, university social responsibility, like a CSR, as Professor Yadav said. If they increase just 1% of CSR in the corporate world, it will mean a lot of answers. So university also has a role beyond the campus, adopting villagers, and not only that, sensitizing them about law, economics, IT, healthcare awareness, all that, and also driving research and innovation, R&D. Nothing happens. If you want to indigenize, if you want to lower the cost containment, it can only happen through research and innovation, and ultimately preventing holistic and preventive health. And somebody also talked about Ayush, indigenous medicine, how we can utilize it, and we did utilize this during COVID time, and it has been found very effective. So ultimately, because we all know that universities are very powerful intersection of knowledge, policy, and people, they all converge at the universities. And yes. So just a couple of case studies. And now these are, some of these universities are not healthcare universities like IIT Bombay. They come out with some innovations like smart stethoscope, or a surgery planner, or a glaucoma screener where glaucoma can be assessed, or biopsy gun, or a knee ankle foot orthotics, which is a modification of Jaipur foot which comes up to the knee. So all those things. And similarly, All Institute of Medical Sciences and the Stanford University, they integrated design thinking, engineering, innovation, clinical insights, and come out with need-based startup. What is the need and what can be done, how things can be designed. And similarly, at IIT Madras, they had a mobile eye surgical clinic at a doorstep where cataract and all these surgery can be done. And also Niramai, I have a small video which I will show you a little later. At my university, we have about 200 startup at our Atal Incubation Center, and we have almost 10% of our startups in the health sector, and our main areas where we are working are social technology, health technology, agriculture technology, and education technology. So if you look at it, healthcare also becomes one of the prime areas of startup and incubation where ideas are incubated for an impact. So ultimately, what are the road ahead? Where are we leading? What can be done? Of course, so much has been said, but there are a couple of things. One is that we have to reimagine curriculum and incorporate sustainability into our curriculum itself, whether it is healthcare or any other program. Another is community integration. Universities have to be proactive, where we have to involve communities. Digital transformation, we already talked about it. Techno-digital health, without that, we cannot move ahead. Research and innovation, everything happens with the research, innovation. We can cut the costs, we can increase the reach, we can bring about affordability, and sustainability campus. Our campuses have to be a living laboratories. Students have to learn. While they are learning, they have to experience it so that they become a learner, and they go back and do it themselves. So to sum up, sustainability is responsibility and innovation is capability. Our innovation is the capability of the university, and we are responsible as a university that we have to inculcate sustainability, and together they enable universities to shape the future of healthcare, creating a sustainable, equitable, and a self-reliant Bharat. Can I have a sound, please? Sound? Just nice sound. Sound. अच्छा इसको लगा
In India, every year, an estimated 150,000 new cases of breast cancer are diagnosed. 50% women diagnosed with breast cancer lose their lives due to late detection. Here's how the solution works. Women that come come in for screening sit before thermosensitive cameras. For 400,000 heat values to create color-coded heat maps. Then artificial intelligence algorithms are applied to these scans to analyze its properties and provide data on the malignancy of tissue. Moreover, this device itself is portable, there is no radiation involved, and it can help detect cancer even before a lump is developed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahesh. Indeed, the academic way forward, especially with reference to sustainability as a very significant term to be incorporated therein, for invocation of the required productivity with creativity, perhaps was the significant end result which we are all in a position to draw in terms of the operational details and the map that was provided in your expert talk. Now I have somebody to put across to you, ladies and gentlemen, whom I have always known, and how spontaneously Indian indigenization can work. Right now, the lingvic example was we were all stuck up with the voice. And immediately Dr. Pankaj said, कुछ मत करो भाई, माइक लगा दो, उस पर बात बन जाएगी. बात इतनी आसानी से बन सकती है और बनी भी. Therefore, what is needed is hybridization. And if one gentleman in the scope of medicine I have seen as a very genuine bona fide hybrid is Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan. Indianization of the modern medicine and globalization of the Indianized modern medicine is the hallmark that Dr. Bhushan has lived, catered to, and continues to cater to. Therefore, for the hybrid man of India, Bhushan Patwardhan.
Thank you, Professor Mishra. We are so privileged to have Chancellor Dr. P.D. Patil, Mrs. Bhageshri Patil, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Vice Chancellor Professor Pawar, all the Vice Chancellors actually sitting here, many known faces here, meeting after a long time. It's always a pleasure to be with AIU. We are already running late, so I will be brief. The session is excellent, and as everybody has said, health session in AIU means a lot because it is indeed has become a very, very important subject for all of us. You know. I'm going to raise some very quick questions, and also, and I'm not here in my capacity as former VC or Vice Chairman, UGC or NAC Chairman. But I am here as a professor of health sciences, essentially. You know, I am here in my capacity as member of the Lancet Commission for India, which we just recently submitted and published our report in Lancet. I am also here in my capacity as the WHO STAG member and also lead for the new WHO center which has come up in India. We talked about healthcare so much, and Dr. Mishra very eloquently talked sustainable, equitable, and 3As, everything. I want to ask a question. When we talk about healthcare, are we really doing healthcare? We are in fact doing sick care. We are not doing healthcare at all. You know, this is not healthcare. Well, healthcare is something which is the Western notion, you know, when they addressed all basic requirements of health, you know. Now, what was remaining, they treated as healthcare, you know, because nobody squats on road there, you know. They have a very excellent, good quality of potable water, drinking water, you know. So, we are in a way following a very, I would say, inaccurate model or insuitable model for India of healthcare, and which we have drawn essentially from country like America, where also it is getting thrown back. Because we are made to live in a medicalized society. We are made to believe that by taking medicine, you will get health. We are made to believe that health and medicine are synonyms, which they are not. Because when we lose health, we need medicine. Medicine is necessary, but health is something very different. And we teach our students health depends only on 4 basic pillars of health. And if any one of the pillar becomes weak, Dr. Dalve will know that as a primitive person, If any one of them is weak, then we need a support system, to make that building stand. And that support system is medical care, which is important. But we are forgetting these 4 basic pillars, and they are nutrition, lifestyle, environment, and the 4th one is not literally in our hand, but still it is important. We can prevent, and that is genetics. Now remember, all out of these 4, 3 are in our hand. So our health is actually in our hands. I must tell you that health is too precious, Dr. Mishra, and he will agree because we know we have resonance with each other. Health is too precious commodity to be outsourced to doctors. And doctors are needed. Doctors are needed, but our health is in our hand. My mentor, Dr. N.S. Devdar, always used to tell us, and his book, Our Health in Our Hand is one of the classic, Having said that, I must tell you, and also I must ask you a question, and I ask this question to myself, that with all these technological advancements what we see today, I am basically biochemist, pharmacologist, I deal with technologies all the time, drug discovery has been my field. But with all these developments, all these technological developments, AI and whatever you may call it as in technology, have we really improved our health? Are we really healthier than previous generations? This is the question I want to ask. We should ask ourselves, am I healthy with all this which is around me? I don't want to have any answer from you, but this question we should ask. Let me tell you, the recent report in JAMA told us that a gap between health span and lifespan is becoming a serious matter. We are living longer, but our longer life is becoming pathetic. And people are asking why I am living longer. So why all this is happening? We are because this kind of a situation which we have created by getting into what we call it as war of turfs. I am an allopathic doctor. I will not see anything else. I am an Ayurvedic doctor. I know everything and I can cure everything. But nobody is really worried. What that person on street wants. They don't care about whether you are allopathic or Ayurvedic. They want something which will relieve them from their pain. And so during last 15 years, I would say, we are talking more about integrative health systems. And I am also here in my capacity as a former vice chairman of the Niti Aayog committee, which was established for creating a policy for our country for integrative health. And our report is sitting, waiting for getting the daylight seen. Dr. Vinod Paul was chairman of that committee. I was member, and several eminent doctors were consulted throughout. And we are saying that why can't we take best available from whatever systems we have today? And why can't we really work more in terms of prevention? Prevention should be the forte for India, country like India, and not treatment. Increasing hospitals, we need hospitals, but we can't follow the American model of healthcare, which is completely different and not suitable to us. But at the same time, I'm also happy that this healthcare discussion is happening in the premises which hosts one of the top medical facilities in our country. I'm sure you will have opportunity to go around this campus to see some of the state-of-the-art facilities which Dr. Patil has created on this campus. So we need such facilities. So I'm not saying that we don't need that. But I'm saying that And I also don't use term modern medicine, by the way. We can say contemporary medicine, conventional medicine, allopathic medicine. It will become modern medicine when allopathy will walk with Ayush. That integration will be the modern medicine of the future. And that's what we actually promote from the WHO platform, And therefore, India has shown a great vision to support this WHO center to host it in Jamnagar. And thanks to our Prime Minister to show this vision. Because of that vision, this center has come to India. Otherwise, it would have gone to China. In China, you see, they respect all the systems which they have. Traditional Chinese medicine, they equally respect. We are creating, Dr. Mishra, I know you are doing a lot of work in that, and we also have been talking to several people. But in our India, our country, our medical graduates should not come out of medical school getting hatred to our own traditions and our own knowledge. At least they should be sensitized, and at least they should be open to see what is happening here, to use it in the best of the best possible way for people. And this is what we mean by integrative health. This is not mumbo jumbo. We are not talking about mixopathy. We are talking about evidence-based integration in the best interest of the people. And I think our universities should look at it more from holistic point of view. Health is not only a domain or monopoly of allopathic doctors in India. In India, if you want to give or strengthen public health, it will not happen unless you integrate it with Ayush system, because Ayush systems are part of our life. Ayurveda is not something which is there in Ayurveda colleges, or yoga is not there only in yoga studios. It is in every home in India. So unless we do that, and unless we create a fourth tier, primary, secondary, and tertiary, we are talking about in our committee, we have given this recommendation that there should be a fourth tier in the healthcare system, and that fourth care is family care. Family medicine, family care, Family will be able to control several of minor elements, that will reduce load on the other tiers of the medicine, There is a lot to talk, but there is no much time. But I just wanted to tell you that the future is integrative. All over the world, this is happening. And the owners of this idea, which is India or Bharat, is not yet looking at it seriously. We should change, we should open our minds, we should think of more in the interest of people rather than protecting our own terms. With this, I thank you all for patiently. I'm sure if AIU takes this, it will spread out all over India and a new model will emerge. All AIMS have Department of Integrative Medicine. And I'm sure DPU also will come out with this very soon as a iconic center which will help people to get best quality treatments from all available knowledge sources. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before I really open it to all the esteemed present over here, thanking Dr. Bhushan, as I said, I used a wrong word, hybridization. I should have said a genuine and a bona fide synergy. Because 1 plus 1 mathematically and arithmetically makes 2. But 1 plus 1 in holistic sense makes 11. And that's the point which perhaps Dr. Bhushan was wanting to draw home. The core issues which he has very rightly flagged and put across the answers as well, lies in the definition of the word health itself. The Alma Ata modification which was put into the core definition of health, a great shift took place. And therefore only two things which I am wanting to put. What is now the final definition post Alma Ata declaration? That health is a state of complete well-being. It's not illness, it is wellness. When you are ill, the wellness is in the well. And therefore, if you take the word disease, ladies and gentlemen, and identify it in terms of what in Hindi we call as Sandhi Vigraha, What is disease? Dis plus is disease, which is displacement of is disease, and replacement of is back is cure. Holistic well-being contemplates the domains which have been included in the definition of health itself. It's in the physical domain, it is in the emotional domain, it is in the intellectual domain, it is in the social domain, it is in the behavioral domain, and the last addition incorporation was the spiritual domain as well. And therefore, it is in this context, very rightly put by you, curative model of medicine cannot sustain the cause of well-being in this world anywhere and anywhere. If COVID has drawn one conclusive point, which is an eye-opener for the world in the domain of now welfare health, not healthcare health, is that curative model is not the answer. It is the preventive model. It is the promotive model. It is the rehabilitative model. And then put to the place at the fourth point, curative. These are the four quadrants which should be put into that particular chronology, where quadrant number 1 is preventive. Quadrant number 2 is promotive. Quadrant number 3 is rehabilitative. And then quadrant number 4 is curative. It is lopsided. It is the curative model which has taken into the vitals of all other three components, and that is the reason. And therefore, what hitherto, to begin with, Bhushan, if you recall, we were contemplating, the word was coined mixopathy. I am declaring it is pluropathy and not mixopathy. It is pluropathy. It's an integration of the best, which is the legitimate entitlement for well-being. If Rig Veda has to begin, let noble thought come to me from the entire universe, from any and every corner. Let it be free-flowing, let it be without barriers, and that which is expected to be the best, healthy and healing model should be the one which ought to be the way forward. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, there are several propositions which can be picked up, but as we rightly say, we are falling short of time. Now, I'm opening it to the learned audience for the purposes of their observations. Please.
I'm Dr. Vinay, Vice Chancellor, CGC University, Mohali. First of all, ये बहुत अच्छी ज्ञान की गंगा है, मैं उसको नमस्कार करता हूँ. See, few things I just wanted to put here. We are comparing with the entire world, wherein the USA and China, they are having the data from wherever it is generating. It is India, it is China, it is any Asian countries. They are the owner of the data. They are the owner of the computational power. And most of the time, they are the owner of the technical expertise which may be transformed from India. The similar is the case to the healthcare system, wherein most of the technical expertise or the medicines which are being manufactured outside the country, in USA or into the European countries. So what I feel is the richer is getting more richer, the poor is getting more poorer. And parallelly, when India is transforming itself into the self-reliant Bharat, being a university, how we should see this problem, because I strongly feel that due to digitization, due to the generative AI, this gap is going to be increased. This is just an observation I just wanted to put in front of the panel.
Thank you. Please, 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 please.
Good afternoon to everybody of you, and it's a very good discussion. To all the panelists, Jadab, Burma, and Patavardhan, and our expert, he is very expert in our as a panelist. I am Professor H.N. Sharma. I am a Vice Chancellor of a Sports University, but I am the student of zoology. What I want to speak, I did not speak much more, only 1 or 2 minutes, that. Regarding the medicine and health, I put forward this opinion in several forums wherever it is possible, that Three words have been mentioned. One is the biologist, malaria, and I forgot another one, third one. Malaria and biologist. Malaria, malaria medicine got Nobel Prize in 2015 on artemisinin. Artemisinin कहाँ है भाई? India का है. Artemisia India is Indian property. Medicine Nobel Prize कहाँ गया है? China में गया है. Nobel Prize China में गया है just 10 years back. Why not India is in that one? And similarly, there are many other medicines yet to be discovered. How many medicines, phytomedicines, India can contribute? As on today, not a single one. Not a single one phytomedicine is contributed to the medicines by the Indian scientists. क्या हमारा scientist नहीं है क्या? हमारा scientist है. हमारा scientist है. लेकिन problem कहाँ पे है? आप लोग decide कीजिए. पटवर्धन बाबू तो है ही. हमारा all distinguished scientists, all vice chancellors here. You think कहाँ पे problem है? कहाँ पे problem है? What I'm thinking is that one. We do not have a linking in between biologist and medical scientist. Had it been an Indian biomedical research, then there may be some solutions. I am a student of zoology. Simple, I am a student of zoology. You may not know heard the name of Guwahati University, but I did my postdoc in Department of Pediatrics in the University of Michigan. And American scientists, they recognize possibly this H.N. Sharma from Guwahati, that this person can do the research in pediatrics, but India it is impossible. India it is impossible. Research, whatever it will be done, only by these poor biology students, microbiologists, zoologists like that one. Medical doctors, with my humble submission, all regards, they do the research, but up to that mark, it is sometimes somewhere lacking is there, what type of research they should do these things. So there should be a bridge in between biological science and medical science. Then many problems may be solved. Third number one, that in first half that was discussed, the grants. It is a very, very important point of grants giving by the central government, Delhi governments. What I feel, this is my personal feeling, do not take it otherwise. Whenever somebody apply for grants, then this project is evaluated in Delhi, and I heard, sir, आप नहीं मिलेगा sir. अब किस लिए नहीं मिलेगा? सर आप कहाँ का हैं? ये number one question. That question has been done. कहाँ का है? ये अप्रूव हो गया है. उसके बाद सर आप टाइटल क्या है सर आपका? वो भी क्वेश्चन है. So this type of questions should be solved. If we can go for some unbiased approach for the Indian citizens, if we can give the grant to Indian citizens, my young researchers, invariably who are from there, and if they have the capacity, we can throw the ball to them. Definitely tomorrow we will do the good research and we can give the all questions whatever we are doing it here. But simple people, the simple villagers, we are selected few here. Only few thousands. How many professors are there in Indian universities? Few thousands. But 140 billions, 1.4 billions of village people, they do not know all these things. They know only the sheep medicine. So for this purpose of this sheep medicine, what we were discussing, Patavardhan is discussing that one, all the joint approach together. If we do the joint approach together, tomorrow my humble students will get the Nobel Prize, we can give the medicines, and that will be the answer for 1.4 billion people. So sir, this is my observation. I hope you will keep these things that Indian biomedical research should be an organization in 2047 Bharat Bharat. Then I think there will be a lot of answers on the medical science. Similarly in other science also. I am being the student of zoology, I am telling the medical science because my research is a little bit of medical oriented. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, please. Dr. Victor has the floor.
So I have a question. Heart disease is today one of the biggest killer in India. and people are afraid of undergoing angiography because it is an invasive technique. I lost one of my close friend. In spite of having family history, he didn't go for angiotherapy, and he died in the very first heart attack. So my question is, can't we develop a non-invasive imaging technique for finding out the blockade in the coronary artery? Because
There
imaging
are,
has improved so much.
there are, there are, there are, there
But
are.
allopathic doctor, the CT angio, they don't believe. CT calcium score also they don't believe. So that's the issue.
No, there are imaging techniques which are definitely in vogue, and they are in a position to be putting across very good clinical results on observation. So there are aberrations and variations on which we do not have a control. But as far as the advancement of techniques in imaging are concerned, we have reached to a very, 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 very advanced point, even in the domain of cardiology.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I have a quick
Yes.
question. So I'm Professor Anand Deshpande from Bhagalkot University from North Karnataka. So now see, everybody has expressed that it is going to be a transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary interdisciplinary studies. But you see, in the recent years, we have got a trend of having a medical university separate, the technological university separate, the skill university separate. So is it a right way of going forward in case we want to have better interaction across, the specializations or disciplines?
Yes.
There are many views about it. My personal view is it's not the right way, because university has to be multidisciplinary, which has been clarified in new NEP 2020. Because if we go on silos, it is not really good. So essentially, what you are saying, that's my way, and nowhere actually this kind of a micro university structure exists.
Yes.
No, true. On that count, there should not be any doubt in anybody's mind.
Yes.
The system has been definitely, number one, affiliative in character, and number two, it has been speciality based, stream
And
based.
Dr. Mishra, jokingly I asked this question, that today we have health universities practically in every state. Now tell me, where is health in health university? Health
I,
universities offer MBBS, BMS, they are all in medicine.
No, no,
And
but-
the same question is true with NIH. There is no health in NIH also.
Correct,
National
correct.
Institutes of Health.
No,
But
it's-
they have institutes of medicine, all of them. So this is what is.
No, it's true. See, basically not today. The whole gamut of health sciences universities being created in the country. There is a very beautiful piece of document, Bhushan, 1982, Dr. Rais Ahmed Committee report, wherein the need of health sciences report was put across into the UGC, as a result of which it came to be adopted in 1984 education policy, and the first health sciences university came in Vijayawada, NTR University of Health Sciences, wherein the purpose was integrative research among the health sciences. Mind well, it was not medical sciences, it was not Ayurvedic sciences, it was not pharmaceutical sciences. The nomenclature itself was health sciences. But as you say, the silos remain silos because our segmentation in terms of kingdoms within kingdoms for the purposes of kingship have been the hallmark of our operation. And that is exactly the
Yes.
limitation. Please,
Yes.
Dr. Dalvi.
The great academic feast for the first day of the 100th, this assembly, AIU assembly. Now myself, Dr. Dalvi from the MGM Institute of Health Sciences. Two observations just I want to share. That NEP 2020 has said for the collaborations, the collaboration in between the IIT Mumbai and the Attract had invented the CAR T cell therapy, where the 3 to 4 crores the expenses, those diseases are now being cured within 20 to 30 lakhs. One ICMR has identified, as you have rightly in your opening remarks mentioned about the data, that is the gold mine.
Yeah.
Particularly, just 2 days before, from Jaipur, the group of hospitals came for negotiation for the data requirement and all that. The placenta, that is for 30 to 40,000, they are ready to take from the delivered patient. Here the Janani Suraksha Yojana, we are giving 2,000 or 3,000 in the government sector also. So the private hospitals also, they are already thinking. I asked them how many hospitals in the country have collaborated with you
20 private group of hospitals, but no government hospitals. But the data is very rich in the government sector also. That sector also should think that these are
No,
the just observations.
data has to be unified. There has to be a national registry on the clinical data.
Yeah.
And if we are in a position to put across that particular data instead of WHO disease classification on the basis of our demographic variables measured and put that data into the database, take it from me, that half process validated AI based healthcare models tested on the Indian data in terms of process validation can be put into clinical validation to be put into operational use, right, beginning primarily public health screening tools, clinical health, therapeutic tools, diagnostic tools, rehabilitative tools, hospice care tools, name a tool which can be made. But the only problem is we have not been in a position to put our data on the basis of demographic variable dependent structuring, which is already in vogue. And another domain, I thought that Dr. Bhushan will be bringing it out. The Government of India Ayush initiative in the domain of reverse pharmacology, ladies and gentlemen, is a huge, huge, huge integrative research domain. Practically the entire phytochemicals, professor was referring to, the entire domain of phytochemicals which are in market in terms of Indian system of medicine pharmacopoeia, 1,100 and odd, out of which 476 drugs which are in market have been put in the reverse pharmacology domain, knowing fully well. Normally, it is from moiety, molecule to market, which is the path. Why it is reverse pharmacology? Because in the Indian context, it is already in market, it is in use, it is in the standard pharmacopoeia, but it cannot be put into global usage without evidence. And therefore, where medical colleges and Ayurvedic colleges coexist, they are expected to be, they are officially in terms of the policy being given preferences to be taking the evidence-based validation on the basis of clinical trials to be converted, beginning from preclinical animal studies and generating T0, T1, T2, T3, T4, but not T5 level evidences, and to put across so that evidence-based Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia in the entire domain of phytochemicals can be put into global market. The initiative is there, but then takers have to be there on that particular count, and the takers have to be the educational institutions for the purposes of undertaking this providence, which is open gold mine. Yet not any project has been undertaken for the purposes of even structuring the demographic variable based data for the conversion of that into AI tool. Every data that we are wanting to be putting across in terms of AI usage is not our clinical data. They are not our demographic variables, and therefore the coinage which has been put across is not medical doctors. Now are not Ayurvedic doctors, but they have said what we are required to be generating is medical engineers, and that's exactly where the silos get broken and put them across in terms of technology being in interface with clinical medicine as a whole as a future perspective. And of course, the way forward is holistic medicine. And therefore, if I'm really wanting to put a conclusion before I give to you, and again, just a small little Urdu couplet came in my way, and that was कि इधर चिलमन से वो झांकें, उधर चिलमन से वो झांकें, लगा दो आग चिलमन को, न ये झांकें न वो झांकें. This is the simplest approach. Last, I am giving floor to him, and then from chair I will be concluding this particular session, because when lady indicates that it is over, a thing has to be declared as over.
Thank you,
Therefore,
sir.
the
Thank
last
you, sir.
observation.
This is Professor Sanjeev Sonawani, Vice Chancellor of YCMU and in charge Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra Health Science University. आज का जो डिस्कशन हुआ है, मैं 3 साल से वीसी हूँ, जहाँ जहाँ जाता हूँ, मुझे लगता है कि ये दिस इज़ द वन ऑफ द सेशन आई हैड अटेंडेड, वेरी एक्सलेंट इंटेलेक्चुअल सेशन. पर ये बाद में, ये सेशन के बाद में क्या है, ये हवा में नहीं जाना चाहिए.
एक्शन प्लान.
इसलिए मेरा कहना है कि AIU और DY पाटिल यूनिवर्सिटी सर ने बहुत अच्छा बात किया है दोनों, कि यूनिवर्सिटी एक सिस्टम डेवलप करना है. तो अभी समझो मैं वाइस चांसलर हूँ MUHS का, और मुझे लगा कि ये आज की जो आइडिया मिली है ये इम्प्लीमेंट करना है. तो मेरे लोगों के लिए और वहाँ स्टाफ के लिए और ये करने के लिए कोई एक्शन प्लान होना चाहिए। मेरे ख्याल से इसके बाद जो भी आइडिया आज यहाँ शेयर हुई है उसका एक अच्छा सा एक्शन टेकन रिपोर्ट बनता है, तो जो जो यूनिवर्सिटी इसमें से एक दो चीज़ें के इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहते हैं वो वाइस चांसलर को और वहाँ के सिस्टम को एक गाइडलाइन मिलेगा। यही मेरा सजेशन है, एक ऑब्जर्वेशन था। और दूसरा मेरा सजेशन है कि ये हवा में मत जाए। ये कॉन्फ्रेंस के बाद हर एक बार ऐसा होता है, लेकिन उसके लिए कोई एक्शन प्लान मिलता है तो कुछ हाथ में मिलेगा।
हमारे बीच में हेल्थ यूनिवर्सिटी के वाइस चांसलर है और हेल्थ के टॉपिक पे उनको जरूर बोलने का मौका दीजिए प्लीज।
बोलिए बोलिए। इतनी बड़ी पैरवी के बाद में मैं ना कह ही नहीं सकता।
Thank you.
जल्दी, be brief.
I will be quick.
Be brief.
Quickly saying, last 3 years we were trying that some health sensitization amongst all the health, all the vice chancellors is possible. Comment has been made that every state has the health university or health science university. That is not true. It was started. Our university is 26-year-old in Punjab, and it was divided. That modern and Ayurvedic, you are saying, Ayurvedic and modern was divided in 2009. So to say that today's meeting is very important, I think Dr. Pankaj and they know they had given me the responsibility in 2024 for a conference of vice chancellors of health universities. It is very good. Before that, this sensitization has been done. And in this sensitization, you have mentioned about starting from preventive, promotive, and ultimately to the rehabilitative or curative. But there is fifth dimension also, COVID, long COVID, we know that even after everything is all right, and then we are saying that there are problems. So it is sustainability which has to be added. Now coming...
Mahesh added that. Mahesh has spoken fully on sustainability.
Yes. So when we are defining 4 stages, stage, and the other thing is that the integration coming, then you are in Indian Medical Association, I'm in Indian Medical Association, we are in National Medical Commission, Medical Council of India, Dr. Mahesh is also there. We know that what we are talking. Unfortunately, this started from integration and it ended to mixotherapy. You have used the right word of plurotherapy, and this plurotherapy, which has to be, this is only, I'll say, that very good meeting, but sensitizing meeting.
True.
There has to be one dedicated meeting for health sciences. And recently we are planning that, and we will invite you. We are inviting all the health sector people, because you all, most of you, are under UGC control and Ministry of Higher Education. We are under Ministry of Health and Health Education. 2 different ministers, 2 different secretaries, all setup is different. They don't understand each other. So there are so many problems that after this meeting, I propose there should be another meeting, because one of our colleague mentioned about the heart problems, and in this everybody should not go with the message. In Punjab, we have started STEMI project, and STEMI project is not controlled by cardiologist. It is controlled by MBBS doctor. And now we are saving lives. So this will be understood once a dedicated health vice chancellor meeting is done. I'll just to end it with this, that there are only 14 health universities created in last more than 25 years.
Right.
And 22 deemed universities, they are the aims, and 40 private health universities. So out of around 1400 members, 1200 members, we are only 100. So there has to be dedicated meeting, and the findings of that should be presented to such large gathering, so that everybody understand that what has to be done and what should be our future, and that is required. And wherever the disintegration has been done into various councils, various allied and health sciences and all. I was mentioning other day
Yeah,
also.
yeah. Thank you. Thank
So
you,
that
Dr.
has to
Rajiv.
be
Your point is
integrated.
well taken. Your point is well
So
taken.
I'm myself Dr.
Yeah.
Sanjeev Sood. Sir, one moment.
No, please, please,
Sir,
please,
we are
please.
in collaboration.
No, no,
I am the only Vice
no, please.
Chancellor of Ayush
My
University.
request, my
I am the
request.
only, this had been a conference on the Ayush and Medical University. So I need 1 minute. So for the knowledge of the hall, I want to let you know that me, Dr. Sanjeev Sood, I'm the Vice Chancellor of State Ayurvedic University of Punjab, and he is the Vice Chancellor of Health University of Punjab. And together we are doing many programs in collaboration
Lovely.
for the integration. So we have signed many MOUs. And number two, very quickly, I'd like to know, he is governing the 130 medical colleges, 130. I am governing 22 Ayush colleges. So the humanities universities, maybe the state universities, the private universities, they have a different set of the rules for their conducting their examination for admission. So it is not very wise that there should be there should not be separate ministries for the health and the humanities. Thank you.
Anyway, that's a policy decision. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the point is well taken. Observations, they have been taken note of. If Honorable Chancellor permits, I availing as the chairman, because the consequence and fallout of this meeting should be constructed. Bhushan, I totally agree that if Dr. Patil permits, I declare that this panel, which has talked in its elaboration on this theme, I am declaring it to be a standing committee to submit a draft action plan on the same. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, with great pleasure, once again thanking Dr. Pankaj Mittal and AIU for this initiative, and of course Dr. Pawar and Honorable Dr. P.D. Patil for putting this special session, wherein, realistically speaking, it has turned out to be special, taking into consideration the contextual needs and realities. Thank you very much for observation and participation. With the concurrence of all concerned, I declare session to be over. From my side over. Now
Yes, just to end the session with a remark, with permission of Honorable Chair, this session as a young professional who is practicing at a grassroots level and hearing to policymakers who have a vision of disseminating health to every individual in this fabric of social India. What I look at it, and just if you may permit for a minute, as a clinician delivering critical care to the needy, 5 years back when I joined DPU and the day today when I listen to policymakers, I feel myself satisfied, not because the world was an opportunity for me 5 years back. And when I chose medical college as a career, the guide of mine in critical care said me, "Are you planning to retire as you graduate?" And from that day to delivering state of the art healthcare services, may it be innovation, research, ECMO, transplants, I stand in front of you fully satisfied, delivering the best of healthcare to all needy. And I should thank our visionary Chancellor Sir, Dr. P.D. Patil Sir, and our Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Bhagyashree Tai Patil Madam, for making young professionals like us who are not driven by economic remunerations. It is the dopamine surge that drives us while delivering the healthcare needs to the needy. This is my perspective, and thank you, Chair, for allowing me to put it.
dopamine, that is exactly endorphin.
Exactly. And speaking in front of such legends itself sends me stammering. So, without causing further delay, it is our privilege to felicitate the eminent panelists. I request our Honorable Chancellor Sir, Dr. P.D. Patil Sir, and Professor Ved Prakash Mishra Sir to jointly felicitate our speakers.
Yes, sir.
So first, I would request Professor G.D. Yadav sir to come onto the dais and Yes. Thank you, sir. May I now request Professor Mahesh Verma, sir, to come onto the stage? Now may I request Professor Bhushan Patwardhan, sir, to join for the felicitation? And last but not the least, the Honorable Chair for this session, I request our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. P.D. Patil, sir, to felicitate Professor Ved Prakash Mishra, sir. Your address was truly enlightening for each one of us, and the way you conducted the workshop is something we should look up to. Thank you so much, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes. As we transition from dialogue to melody, may I invite you all to the university auditorium to experience an unforgettable musical evening